Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everyone. We're all excited to, to be starting spring ball here Saturday. We initially were going to start yesterday, but with some of the new coaching hires and getting a little extra work done through the winter, we pushed it back till Saturday. So we'll get 3 days in, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday before spring break. I kind of like how that sets up, the schedule, giving us a little more time. I feel like we're in great shape coming into the spring ball with the new coaching hires. Coach Lincoln Riley on offense, along with Dennis Simmons, at wide receivers, along with Cale Gundy at inside receivers. That whole transition has gone really well. Coach Bulware moving to running backs has really, done an excellent job in working with the guys here through the winter. We've got a lot of experience in this system. Coach Riley's system, of course, Dennis Simmons was with him for a great number of years, not only, at Texas Tech, but East Carolina as well. Very familiar with the system. Coach Gundy and has worked in this system in our first many years here. In our first probably 5-6 years, we were doing a lot of the same stuff. Maybe a little bit different terminology, but that's easy to get a hold of. Same with Coach Biedenbow on offensive line. Has been in this system, for quite a number of years. So everyone's really picked it up really well. So feel like we've made really good progress, and we're ready for the spring there offensively. Defensively, same thing. The additions of Kerry Cooks and Dyron Reynolds, Coach Reynolds from Stanford, Coach Cooks from Notre Dame. Again, guys that have a lot of experience, a lot of understanding of defense. We've had a lot of great meetings and feel like we're in, really good shape coming into this, coming into spring. And they've had, a good number of weeks here, the last several weeks, to get acquainted with players they're going to be coaching. And I feel that's been really good, too, the relationships with all the players. Some of the, position, only one position change. We're looking at Isaac Ejalana at defensive end. Isaac played defensive end in high school, came to us, there in early winter, midwinter, and wanted to look at that change. He's looked really good working out and doing things with the defensive ends. So feel positive about that. Outside of that, we don't have any other position changes. A few guys that'll miss. Dominique Alexander will miss the spring. He had wrist surgery just this past week. Just an injury he had last year. It had healed up. It looked like it was going to be okay through the winter with all the different working out, the different everything they have to do with their wrists. It wore down. So the doctors didn't anticipate that. It happened. So he'll be out this spring. But, again, not that you want everyone to be there. Dom's played a lot of really good football for us, and he should be fine and released full go by the time we start in the summer. So that should be okay. Neela's had a slight issue going that he'll be fine, but we're hopeful he'll be back the second half. He may miss the first 3 days. He should be back, hopefully, after that. Again, Neela's played a lot of really good football for us. Courtney Garnett tore his anterior cruciate somewhere early winter conditioning on some hurdle work. So Courtney, that all went well, but he will be out as we go through, here as well. I think that's, I don't know, I think that's about it. Am I missing anyone else, Pete? Yeah, so, but anyway, again, the guys have had a good winter. Everyone always wondered. They've really worked hard. They've had a great attitude with Coach Smitty and the way they've worked, within the weight room, doing our speed work in the indoor facility, on and on. They've really done well, and everybody's anxious to get on the field again.
Bob, with a new offense and trying to get 4 quarterbacks reps, and you always talk about in some positions lack of numbers. I don't know how many total receivers you have, but how are you going to try to? I mean, can you give us an idea how you might try to get all these reps in, and especially trying to throw the ball as much as you do?
I mean, when you're I mean, that'll be easy. I mean, we're out there for 2.5 hours. They rest the next day. You're out there for another 2.5 hours. You throw a lot of footballs in 2.5 hours. So, and especially in the first couple of days when you're not in pads, you're not able to run the football as much because you don't have pads on. So there'll be plenty of throws. And they've done a lot of work on their own here through the winter. So that I don't ever see that's as big an issue as everyone wants to talk about.
Coach, last year is a big deal made about Trevor Knight being a guy going into the spring. Now you got a new offense, you got a bunch of quarterbacks that have played. Is it important for you to have a guy established by the end of the spring, or does it matter to you at all?
I don't worry about that. I think competition, I always feel competition through the summer and leading up to the season continues to push guys because as Coach Wooden always said, competition's a coach's best friend. So I don't see that as an issue. So we'll see how it goes, But it's fair to say there'll be open competition when you have a new system, and obviously we've got several really good quarterbacks. I feel that are really quality guys. You got to let them, see who can handle it and make the right reads, make the right throws, and be the most consistent.
Will there be any restrictions on Joe Mixon this spring?
No.
Full go with you guys?
He will be practicing with us. He will not participate in the spring game.
You've had a lot of different offenses. I mean, just kind of variation you changed over the years. What will this offense look like in terms of some of your passes? Is there any particular year you say it'll look like that year? Or?
Well, I like I said, it's very similar to everything we started with in '99 and 2000. In 2001, 2, 3, we've kept a lot of those parts for many years after '99 in 2000.
Everybody talks about the players adjusting to a new offensive system. What's it been like for the coaches to adjust to Coach Riley's style?
It's been very easy. As I said, a lot of these guys, all but Coach Boulware, all of them have had experience in this system, so everything has come to them really quickly.
Will you be careful with Sterling this spring?
Sure. And not just Sterling. I always am with seniors and guys that are back that have played a lot of football. I will not be interested in seeing Sterling in a live scrimmage at all. So that changes some things a little bit, but I've done that with always with seniors that are back that have played a ton of football for us on both sides of the ball. I try and limit what they're out there doing in live action for opportunities to get injured.
Bobby, Mike's moving away from the secondary. What led to that decision?
I think as much as anything, my feeling with him that he could move around and drift. In other words, move around at practice more, not having the secondary, and overlook not only the secondary, the defensive line. He also, during practice, has to manage the offensive look groups, so then his eyes aren't on the secondary as much, where I think it's easier for him managing the scout teams with just the outside backers up front. It's much easier to see, and there's much less to correct usually than there is in the secondary.
If you look around, even the Big 12, you don't see a whole lot of defensive coordinators that have a big position group. Is that kind of a trend that's developed?
Much like offensive coordinators usually just have the quarterback, or Coach Wilson when he was here, Kevin had just tight end fullback. And it's simpler that there aren't as many guys to chase down when there are issues. You could keep your eyes on more parts of the offense, defense. Yes, and again, that's what I've looked at and felt this would be a good move. And he's coached up front before. When we were at Kansas State, he's coached up at the DNs, outside backers, and again, feel it'll be a positive.
When you looked at Dyron, I mean, he was a guy that had a lot of NFL experience, but not really recent experience in college and in recruiting and position coach. How did you go about identifying kind of the coach that he can be versus?
By interviewing him. The way he teaches is a form that our players are used to. He's been around and worked with people that we really believe in, that are elderly, maybe more experienced and elderly defensive line coaches that we believe in the way they play and their technique and what our players have been used to. He teaches that way. He's been with them. Incredibly bright guy, communicates great. That's all, in recruiting, that's what you've got to want to do it and have those abilities. He does, and a very bright guy when you come to technique and on the board on even offering, different slight adjustments to the overall scheme, not just what he's doing up front. So he's a person that really grasps the entire defense, not just the front. So he had all the qualities we were looking for, and feel fortunate, that he was, in a position that this worked.
Coach, everybody kind of thought Joe Mixon was the guy coming in last year, but now you got a guy that came in and had a great season last year. You got a couple other established guys. What's Joe Mixon going to have to show you, especially not playing the spring game?
It's no different with him or any position. Is who's playing the best, who's making the most plays, who makes plays when they're not there. Who protects and is smart with the football, who has the fewest mental errors that hurt the team. And he could say it on defense or offense. I mean, in any position. It's no different.
Bob, what Samaje did last year, how much, when you're looking at the change in your offense, how much did that factor in that you have a guy who's kind of proven he's special as far as the running back goes?
Well, it's fair to say, I mean, there's we understand the positive part of our offense, all right? But we still only had so many wins, and we had so many losses. So in the end, what part of that can be better? And I believe with our ability to throw the football in a more positive way, he may have better opportunities to run the football, more room to run the football, and that's what we're after. And I believe that can happen, where we don't have to be as predictable, and that's all we're doing. And so we have always, in this style of offense back in 2000, I think Quentin Griffin ran for almost 2,000 yards. And believe, that's our hope, is to still be able to run the football very effectively.
You have Jordan Evans back, obviously, the inside linebacker, but talk about the other inside linebackers in the spring you'll be working with.
All those guys, we're anxious to see Tay Evans, Curtis Bolton doing more. Those are guys that that we feel need a lot of snaps, so they'll get those. P.L. Lindley's out at Sam, but can always play in there. Yeah, that's what he was recruited initially for. And then we're though Frank Shannon won't be here, he's expected to be back at sometime late May.
Bob, will you look back over the last couple of years with Eric Stryker and maybe change things up with him even a little bit this spring? And
to a degree, you're always, trying to take advantage of what Eric does so well, and he can rush, incredibly well, but he also does a lot of great things out there to the field, against the run and pass. So we continue to, to experiment with them. And about anything we do, when we put it on the board, we're considering where he's going to be and what his opportunities will be. But it's fair to say when you have him in one spot, it limits what you can do maybe in coverage. When you have him in another spot, it gives you more to do in coverage and him an opportunity elsewhere. So it's a puzzle we're always working with.
If Joe's allowed to practice, why isn't he going to be able to play in the spring game?
Well, it's just a policy that we had from the, from when we started this suspension. So that was that was part of it.
How will the splitting the wide receiver coaches work? Well, because in the past you've had guys who've been able to bounce between playing outside and inside. Is that going to be harder to do with two different coaches?
Not really. Those guys, when they go into their positions, inside receivers are particular, and if a guy going both ways, today he may be in there, the next day he may be there. But when you're out of practice, realistically, on different occasions, one may have the left side, you take the right side. So while we're in the middle of going fast at practice, and then when they get into meeting rooms, okay, specifically inside receiver routes, here are the particulars. Outside guys, these are the particulars. And then one or two guys that are going to flop around, they'll just take turns in different position rooms. And it isn't like if he's in the inside receiver room and Coach Gundy's going to know what they're telling him for the outside as well. More eyes on the receivers.
That was obviously a position that you needed some growth out of last year coming into the spring, the receiver position. Does that help them a little bit, having two different coaches now, or coaches that can more specialize in what they're doing?
Hopefully, it does. I feel what'll help most of them more than anything is just more maturity, more time. Some guys, I thought really did a good job. I thought Dallas Todd really had a great winter. So guys like that, you just hope Micaiah will continue to come on. I thought Jordan Smallwood's work, has looked better and better. So I think as much as anything, too, it can hurt, but also I think their maturity will help.
Will the tight ends go with Jay and the fullbacks, or will they be with K?
Well, the way we have it, they'll be inside receivers. Dimitri will be in the running backs room as a fullback.
Well, one upside to new coaches is sort of a new energy, new feeling of fans. Everybody feels that way. Is it reach the players? There's a massive change in coaching staff. Does that bring a new energy to the players?
I don't know so much. I think every new year brings energy to the players because they realize it's a whole new situation. Coaches are not. I feel players get that as we do, in that as soon as you walk out and start your winter conditioning and workout, it's a whole new team. And I think they gravitate to that more than a coaching change.
You have to replace 3 starters in the offensive line. Can you talk about the effort, going through this spring, trying to rebuild that group?
Yeah, some guys that are, Josiah St. John is really coming on. Derek Forniak, Christian Daimler, Kenyon Friesen. Kenyon's really been impressive. He's one of the better young guys we've had in here, so hopefully he can continue to come on. Joseph Paul, really a big, strong guy that's figuring it out. Dominic Hearns looked good, the junior college guy that's come in. Jamal
Danley?
Yeah, Jamal is what I meant. Yeah, Dominic and Jamal Danley has really done a nice job the way he's running and doing things. So Jonathan Alvarez continues to really do well in there. So, we feel like usual when you miss some guys, you got guys that have been working here that are hopefully ready for their opportunity.
Any other new guys like Dede Westbrook that stood out?
Dede's been impressive, very fast, quick. He and John Humphrey have more explosive speed in there, maybe other than Sterling, than anyone else. And they've looked really good, with that speed. It's different when you watch them, how well they run. Rodney Anderson's been really impressive at the running back position. Not many guys can come in and handle the workload, the lifting, the running, and be up front and be at the same level as these guys, and he's been able to do it. So he's really been, I think he's put on 10 pounds and every bit as faster than when he came in.
Is he one of those guys that you were talking about might be able to play inside and out?
Sure. You would think he could do it.
It's a little strange, Bob, that you got 4 or 5 running backs that can play, 3 that can play, 2 that you feel good about. And you really use 1 at a time mostly.
You don't have to. In this offense, you can use 2.
You got other positions where you need 3 or 4 guys at a time, and that's about how many guys that you have. Is it just an imbalance of experience, or?
It's hard to say. I mean, you've got your reasons for it, and I'll be the first to compliment Coach Gundy, and his ability to recruit running backs has been quite evident. And those guys have all come in and come through. And have been what you'd want them to be.
Bob, how much do you think, with all that experience in the running back room, how much do you think Rodney will be able to play this year? How much do you expect him to be able to play this year?
We'll see. We expect he'll play. That's how strong he's looked here early. Now, we've got to get out there and do it and all, but he's been really impressive. So, and again, in this offense, there are times, Coach Riley's used 2 running backs in there quite often. To do different things.
Bob, how did Cale's position switch come about?
It was my suggestion, and he was thinking about it. I think as much as anything, you know, I just thought it was a positive for him to have more understanding of everything that we're doing. Not that he doesn't, but to have more expertise in that part of our offense. You know, as he moves forward, I just thought it'd be a positive thing.
Bob, do you expect it'll really help Cody a lot in this quarterback battle to have given up baseball and be able to focus on football?
Probably. You know, just that this is all he's thinking about. You know, I would guess so. Even though there's, you know, you're limited how many times you're on the field. That position, there's a lot to think about. So, you know, in the end, that was his decision, and you know, I think a part of that too is, truthfully, I mean, you know, how much is he playing there too? If he was playing all the time, that may not have been what he did, but you know, as it was, he just felt this is what he wanted to do.
The fact you're changing the offense, that kind of even things out, because obviously you've had Trevor and Cody to play, and you know, some other guys haven't. I mean, is that kind of even things out because you are changing kind of your offense for everybody?
You know, I don't know. Those guys, they, you know, understood what we were doing, you know, before this. So, you know, it could, though, when everybody's starting new. Probably does.
How excited are you to see Baker out there? I know he had a year off. He's probably enthusiastic to get out there and play football.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I watched him, you know, go, you know, win the Scout Team Player of the Week about every week going against the defense. He works hard, you know, and you know, and has experience. You know, so it'll be exciting to see.
What are you thinking about at your nickel position on defense?
We'll see. We're, you know, there's several, you know, several of those safeties. You know, usually Ahmad Thomas, you know, possibly Stephen Parker's got great cover ability there. You know, and it's a strong position for us. You know, that's where Roy played all those years, and you know, the position gets a lot of action. So. You know, both those guys have a chance. You know, new guy that's been impressive, Will Johnson, possibly, but we'll start looking at that.
When you get away from the end of the season and you really look at how your defense played, you know, down the stretch, do you put it more on inexperienced guys being back there, but talented, or is it?
It's always both. I mean, we have to take responsibility. If guys bust things, we've got to figure out a way to get it to them. But at times you have guys in position and don't make the play, or miss a tackle. You know, there's only so much you can do. So it's both, and you know, we'll have some more experienced guys in some ways back there this year, and some new guys. You know, so hopefully we can play better.
Is Mike moving up to the box next year, Bob?
That's something we don't ever consider until we kind of go through spring and summer, and with new guys on the staff, where, you know, how they're relating to guys and what they need to do. So that's something we'll experiment with the spring and summer in scrimmages on where's our best communication, you know, and who has to direct who. I mean, it's a possibility if, you know, Coach Cooks has a secondary and there's more guys to correct, that may be a case. But we want to experiment with it before we would ever decide on that.
When you were running this offense years ago, Bob, it seemed like pass protection was easier because it was a quick throw type of offense. Does that lessen the responsibility of the offensive line? Does it make it easier on the offensive line with this offense?
It can. Though it's fair to say we haven't given up many sacks, you know, the last couple of years. I think we led the league in fewest, I'm guessing there, this year. Led the nation. So yes and no. But yes, you know, I think in this offense, you know, you know, that has a chance to be the case.
You got an inexperienced offensive line. You lost 3 really good players. Seemed like a good time to go to an offense that takes a little heat off the offensive line.
Well, I think it can take a little heat off the offense, pass and run. You know, by the formations and the way we deploy and all. So there isn't that pressure of just loading up and everyone knows we're going to run it. or, to have that balance of pass and run is what I was saying earlier, that it may help us, give us more space to run, and hopefully that'll be the case.
I know you've got, you're going to have your pro day coming up next week. I'm curious how much you had a chance to keep tabs on your guys, and looked like Blake had a pretty good combine.
Yeah, I have a little bit. Coach Smitty goes to that, and he kind of was informing me on how the guys seemed to do. I heard Blake did well, ran pretty well, and I know he catches and does all of that. And I think it's fair. He's got such a big upside in that he's only played it a limited amount of time. I heard Darryl did really well from what I understood. Is what I think a couple of guys that he pointed out. Doriel sounded like he did really well, but so we'll see. And yeah, I'm anxious to see how they do here next week.
Doriel says he's going to work out at your pro day. Is that? I don't know, is that almost like a little bit of a payback as the guys will get a little bit more exposure that are working out here too, I'm sure, with more scouts coming in to see him?
No, I think it's just natural in that the way he went through the year here, this is where, he wanted to complete it with. And, so, if guys are, interested in seeing him or other guys, we always have we always have strong attendance here, so anyway, I'm glad it worked out well for him.
Cale getting the assistant head coach title, what exactly does that mean? What responsibilities does that add for him?
Well, he does a lot of, which he has, but just, for instance, this morning I'm not able to get in and be at a staff meeting. He calls staff meeting, go over our junior day this Saturday. Just directing the recruiting, directing the camps and clinics. Just as many responsibilities as he has, or sometimes he's got to call a meeting or direct something because he's in charge of it. So it just, again, I think it points out, all the extra things that he does here and the leadership he provides as well.
I know you've gone through enough coaching searches lately, but you see schools, especially Oklahoma State up north, adding a couple of analysts of experienced college coaches. Are you guys going to try and move in that direction as well as a program?
I mean, you never know. I mean, whatever you feel you need to do. It's just feeling you.
You've added extra quality control guys and GAs now. But
yeah, and I feel our staff is where it needs to be. But I mean, we're never opposed to if we feel we need something. Joe Castiglione's always, open to, what we feel we need to make us better.
Bob, where do you sit on the illegal man downfield rule changes that they're?
Yeah, I think it's the right thing. I mean, there's so many reads that a safety or linebacker have, in that if the guy's, releasing downfield, it can't be a pass. Well, that's not the case much anymore. And then you get the fuzzy area. Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? When the ball's let go. And it's just it's made the defense's job of reading a run and pass almost impossible. So I think they're on the right track, if you're asking me. I mean, if you're going to pass the ball, you shouldn't be able to be more than a yard downfield, and that way it's pretty simple, now you can't have the advantage of, it's a run, I'd rather throw it, and in the middle of the run you throw it. It's made it pretty tough for defenses.
When you bring in new coaches, are you looking for guys who fit what you're coaching, or you get new ideas to bring in something different?
Both. You're always looking for guys that can contribute to schematically, offense, defense, whatever you're doing, that they see the big picture. But also, you're looking at their teaching techniques and how they teach, if it's what you believe in. And, with him, he had both.
Bob, with losing Honeycutt and Barnett, how confident are you with your special teams, with the small amount of guys you have on campus?
I feel good about it. I mean, we've got, a great kicker coming in, kicker and punter. And, all the snappers, holders are back. Jack Steed has been punting here for 3 years. We've watched them all last year, really hit it well. So I feel like we'll be in good shape.
Can you talk a little bit about opening practice up for the media? I know you talked in the fall last year, you opened up practice for students, kind of just some fan interaction that you have going on with that. Can you just talk about it?
You want me to talk about it?
Just kind of, what it's like to see behind the scenes and everything like that.
I guess you'd have to ask them what it's like. I see it every day. I mean, I guess they enjoy it. Again, I'm just doing my best to get my guys ready to play. And again, if we open it up, we'll see where that goes and how it goes. And it's just in today's world with cameras and video and everything, it's not as easy as it used to be.
Bob, you've often had really good seasons when not a whole lot, the usual expectations weren't as high. Do you have any reason why that is, or do you enjoy that status going into a season when you're sort of laying low?
I don't care either way. I think as much as anything, Barry, it's fair to say we haven't had a lot of really poor seasons. Our poor season was like a year ago, 5 losses. And then usually after that, we've come back with some championship runs and some really strong years. And we haven't had many that haven't been that way. I don't know, Pete, how many years have we had 10 or 11 wins or more? It's been quite a few.
12 years of 10 or more.
12 out of our last 15. So anyway, hopefully we can do it again and better.
Is Mark Andrews is he working as a tight end or wide receiver?
He's working in inside receivers.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
All right.